Today we're diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in history. It's all about how a private company, not an army, not a king, ended up conquering an entire subcontinent. It's a wild ride.
I mean, really think about that question for a second. How does a company conquer a country? Businesses are supposed to sell things, right? Not raise armies and rule over millions of people. But that's exactly what happened in 18th century India. So let's get into how this was even possible.
You see, the story doesn't kick off with some big, dramatic invasion, not in the way you think. It starts with an opportunity, a moment of weakness in what was once a totally dominant empire.
Okay, so for centuries, the Mughal Empire was the big power in India. They provided stability, a strong central government, the whole shebang. But by the 1700s, it all started to crumble. You had internal fighting, weak leaders, and local governors basically deciding to go into business for themselves. This created total chaos, and more importantly, a massive power vacuum. And you know what they say about vacuums? Someone is always waiting to fill them.
And stepping into this chaos weren't kings or generals. Nope, it was a new kind of player altogether. Corporations. And there were two European companies in particular that looked at all this instability and saw the business opportunity of a lifetime.
So you've basically got three groups in this free-for-all. First, there are the local Indian rulers, the leftovers of the Mughal Empire and a bunch of regional princes, all scrapping for their own piece of the pie. And then you've got the two big European contenders, the French and the British East India companies. And you have to remember, at this stage, they're just trading companies. Their job is to make money, not to run a country.
What's so fascinating is that their initial game plan was identical. This wasn't a war for national pride, not really. It was just brutal corporate competition. Both the British, who were set up in Madras, and the French, based down the road in Pondicherry, wanted the exact same thing, to control the incredibly profitable trade routes. But their rivalry was about to get a whole lot more intense.
So how exactly does a business rivalry turn into a full-blown war for territory? Well, it happens when companies stop trying to outsell each other and start trying to outgun each other. Using local politics as their battlefield,
The main arena for this showdown was the Carnatic region, right here in southeastern India. And you can see on the map how close their main bases were. Madras for the British, Pondicherry for the French. They were literally on each other's doorstep, and the whole region was about to become their personal chessboard.
They used a strategy that we still see all the time today, the proxy war. So instead of having the official British and French armies go head-to-head, the companies got clever. They'd find a local dispute over who should be the next ruler, and then they'd each pick a side and back them.
And they had it down to a science. This was their playbook, and it was devastatingly effective. Step 1. Find two local guys fighting over a throne. Step 2. The British company gives Prince A money and soldiers, while the French company backs Prince B. Step 3. They help their guy win. And the prize? The winning company gets huge trade deals, political power. Basically, they get to call the shots. It was a hostile takeover, just with cannons and armies.
After years and years of these proxy battles, one company proved it was just better at the game, more ruthless, better financed, and in the end, more successful. And this victory wasn't just going to look good on a quarterly report, it was going to redraw the map of India itself.
So here's the bottom line. The British East India Company won. They beat their biggest corporate rival, the French, at their own game. And just like that, a private British company suddenly found itself controlling huge chunks of territory.
Now, take a look at this map from 1785. All of the areas you see marked as British territory, that wasn't land ruled by the King of England. It was ruled by the East India Company. This is the direct result of that corporate playbook we were just talking about.
And we're not talking about a few small trading posts. By 1785, the company controlled the massive, wealthy provinces of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. They had key ports like Madras and Bombay. This wasn't a business anymore. It had become its own state. For the first time ever, millions of people were being governed by a board of directors, whose main job was to make a profit for their shareholders.
This quote right here tells you everything you need to know. The Mughal emperor, who used to be the most powerful person in India, now only had nominal sovereignty. It means he was a ruler in name only. The real power wasn't in the emperor's court in Delhi anymore. It was being wielded from a boardroom in London and company headquarters in Calcutta.
And this is the great transformation. By winning a corporate rivalry, the East India Company had completely changed what it was. It went in looking for commercial dominance and came out with territorial dominance. It had become this strange hybrid, part company, part government.
Okay, so let's just zoom out for a second and put this all together. How in the world did we get from a couple of trading outposts to a private company controlling the destiny of millions?
It really happened in 4 clear steps. First, they showed up just to do business. Second, they took full advantage of the political chaos left behind by the collapsing Mughal Empire. Third, they fought and won a brutal corporate war against their biggest competitor. And finally, they emerged not as the top trader, but as the new rulers. It's one of the most unbelievable business pivots in history.
And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question. The story of the East India Company might have happened back in the 18th century, but it raises an issue that feels more relevant now than ever. In a world where some global corporations are wealthier and more powerful than many countries, this story is a chilling reminder. It forces us to ask, what happens when a company's power goes completely unchecked?